Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar series. Today's discussion is about students and parents' consideration in signing up for a university or a college. So, before we kick off with the webinar, we would wait for the audience to join and we will start in a short while. Right. We'll kick off in 5 minutes time. Maybe wait for audience to join. Okay, in the meantime, we will look at some of the videos. go for another video, and then we will kick off with our webinar. Okay, let's start with today's topic, which is students and parents' consideration in signing up for a university. My name is Dr. Sanmugam, and today's date is 25th June, and we are kicking off at 8 p.m. And welcome to everyone to this webinar series. I hope that this will take you to a journey of where people seek knowledge and how knowledge can be translated into various factors and able to use this knowledge to upgrade the life standard of people. Okay, now in the essence, what we are trying to look here is choosing a higher learning institution. I'm focusing on colleges or universities. Both plays an important role whereby both colleges and universities are considered as on the par of providing what do you call the information for students as well as for parents, and how to make their life better, and what are the most important factors that both parents and students need to know and able to gain certain aspect of information in proceeding to whether to go for a university or for a college or any higher learning institution that supports the need of their higher learning. Okay, now higher learning institution will have a lasting impact on their personal and professional life because when students come to the higher learning institutions, they are exposed with various aspects of knowledge, as well as you're talking about curriculum and extracurriculum, and what they need to be equipped in the future for them to expose themselves in the working life, as well as not only in working life but also in maybe students wants to venture into business, and how this business can be able to able to combine both the knowledge as well as entrepreneurship in making them a person with a wide range of knowledge. Okay, so many students select higher learning institution based on emotion, maybe through parents' recommendation, maybe through friends' recommendation, maybe through social media or other forms of information. But the most important thing that students need to know is even they can go to university or they can even go to college. All right. Sometimes we can see certain colleges are in the par with the university level, and we can see that through some of the students who have excelled in their work life, and who have um, gained a lot of experience, okay, through the journey, as well as what is important for students is to make sure that they have certain level of understanding on how to be prepared for the future, and therefore there are some criterias, and I have a gut feelings that these are some of the criteria. Of course, all these criteria is just a perception, okay, whereby we're going to use some of these and try to get some kind of uh, mm, revelations of some kind of maybe we can able to come to a conclusion on how to ensure that students choose the right institution. Okay, so therefore, this important decision need to go to higher level of scrutiny. So we are going to go and scrutinize, okay, and what are the things, and we are going to go step by step, and how to ensure that students from this webinar, this is one of the series of webinar. We'll have more series of webinar like this because I cannot cover the whole area on just in one webinar series. Maybe we have future webinars and focusing on other aspects. But today I'm going to overall view, okay, certain aspects that are important for students. Okay, now, so as I have mentioned earlier, college or university are so important because students, when they come to college or university, they might or they have to have a sense of belonging, because when you have a sense of belonging, they feel this university or this college is my college. I have to do something. I have to do something better, and make sure that the lecturers or the academicians are proud the with their performances, right? And students will be studying the range of 4 to 5 years, and these 4 to 5 years, the students feel that they they have come to a home, okay, where the home will provide them a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, knowledge, hands-on, and whatever not that is important for them to make sure that when they go out, they can perform and at the same time they can upgrade themselves in their working life or in their business. So, first of all, reputation in the field of study. So, for example, when you talk about a certain university or certain colleges, they must be famous of something. Okay, for example, in business. Okay, certain colleges are famous in business. Certain colleges are famous in engineering. Certain colleges or universities are famous in IT field, and so on and so forth. So these are their forte of this particular learning institution, and therefore when you choose this particular institution, you know it depends on the students wants. The student wants to be an entrepreneur, so they have to choose the colleges or the universities that are good in entrepreneurship or business studies. And remember, the the reputation of an institution student graduate, okay, may mean more for employee. For example, if an institution is famous for business and these students graduate from business, and therefore when an employers see that these students are coming from this particular institution, then they would have a high perception or high expectation from these particular students, whereby they have graduated from this particular institution and they must be good. And therefore, remember, students need to look into all these aspects. Okay, and then finally, students should look at themselves and decide what's important to them in choosing a learning institution. As I mentioned earlier, if they are interested in IT field. So they have to choose an institution which is famous for IT field. If the student is looking for engineering, then they have to look for an institution which have an excellence in engineering and same time business. Because as I mentioned earlier, business covers wide range of field. When we talk about business, we're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about finance, we're talking about economics, accountancies, and so on and so forth. There's a huge field in a business school, and therefore, when any students, okay, when they want to look into a business field, they also must look into what profession they want to be. For example, if they want to be an accountant, so they have to go through the accountancy field. But if they want to go to an economist, for example, then they have to go to the economics courses. And from there, you'll be able to get the specialization of certain courses. Okay, so remember the reputation of academy and non-academy of this particular institution is very important. When people hear this particular institution is famous for certain academicians or a non-academician, I'm talking about non-academicians. We're talking about the admins department, which will be helpful for the students, and so on and so forth. But mostly when we talk about academicians, certain institution where certain academicians have excellence on the above the par of the whole field, and able to provide more information, more knowledge for these particular students. And then let's look at some of the characteristics that a college need to have in order to be interesting to students. Number one, Okay, students need to find college or university that fit them. For example, if the students are interested in sports, for example, then they have to look for a college or university that have the field in sports management. If the students is looking for business faculty, as I mentioned earlier, and they are focusing on, let's say, accountancy and finance, so they have to look for the colleges that offers these particular programs and ensure these university are in the high ranking standards. Right. So when, and second thing is, right, remember, students must be happy. Okay, if students feel happy in that particular institution, and then they will prosper. If students feel unhappy about this particular institution, then they will have more problems, because they will have mm, the issue of non-attendance, because they are not they are forced to go to the institution. Okay, if students are happy, they will come to institution and they will follow the courses, and they will be perfect attendance for throughout the course. All right, and remember, students need to grow. Okay, not just attendance. So the academicians must make sure that students are growing. That means from the first year to second year, the academicians must make sure that students are enhancing in terms of academy and non-academia. So that is the function of academicians, to ensure that we will guide them, we will nurture them, we will ensure that these students able to prosper in whatever field they venture. And the most important thing, student must adapt. And not only students adapt, but also the academicians and non-academician must make sure that students able to adapt the situation. So must the environment must be good for students to adapt. So therefore, there must be a friendly environment for students, to ensure that students are happy, and to say they are in another home. And finally, once you have all this, then to get a degree and to graduate will not be a problem for any students who have these particular issues that have been solved. So here are some of the students, they are happy. I will make sure, I ensure that students are happy to certain level in the school itself and in the class, to ensure that they see, when the students are happy, they will be engaging with the academicians. So when they engage with the academicians, then you can be friendly with them. So the most important thing is that the gap. So if anyone can narrow the gap, then we are a successful academicians. So there are a few questions that I have stated here. Number one, is class size important? It depends on certain fields. Okay, since right now we have this COVID-19 pandemic, of course we have to minimize the class size according to standard operating procedures. And even every institution have their own SOP. But class size is very important. We cannot have too huge or too many students in one class, and we cannot pay attention. There must be the right size of the class, where the academics, the lecturers can able to um, engage with the students, and students will be able to engage with the lecturers. And most important thing, experience lecture is very very important, because experienced lecturers have so many experience to share with the students, and experienced lecturers will have a lot of stories to talk to with the students, and they can give a lot of examples of how their life was be, and how their life has been all throughout, and give them the guidance to students, what, how, and what the most important aspect of education that need to take into consideration. And graduation rate important? Yes, to some extent, graduation rate is important, because if there is a high failure rate, meaning to say that academician or the lecturers have failed in their particular task, because when students fail, the same times the lectures also fail. And if the students can able to go through, then lecturers can say they are successful. Retention rate, as I mentioned, when students are happy, they will not leave the learning institution. But if students are not happy and we are not making an happy environment, then students will leave. So how to make them happy? Simple. The academicians and the non-academicians have to talk to the students, have to discuss with the students, have to engage with the students. So students will be able to understand about the management, and management will be able to understand the students. If both can understand each other, then every problem can be resolved. And another thing is, some of the students, they want to study abroad. So certain institution which have their partners of overseas, and they can engage with these partners to have maybe 1 semester or 1 year, okay, to study abroad, by so that students will have a different level of exposure, besides studying in Malaysia, but also studying overseas. This is one of the factors where some of the students would want to. Or we can also have a education tour abroad with a partner university, whereby this will give a more outdoor exposure or experience, to know about different cultures and how students abroad engage with their lectures, and so on and so forth. So this will give a higher level of exposure to students. So these are one of the what do you call it, important factors when we have foreign academicians or foreign professors flying in and engaging with the local students, and giving a good exposure to the students, and students feel that they have been treated in a very decent manner by foreign professors, and these foreign professors are very good in engaging with the students, and I see them, they are very friendly with the students, and provide them a lot of opportunities to discuss with them, and that gives the students a happy environment. Another Another important aspect of perception is there any scholarships? Okay, scholarship must be in a way that students able to enjoy a certain level of funds. Okay, from the college, and any financial aids. Okay, I think for local students, okay, the most of the learning institution provide scholarship, and also to a certain extent financial aid has been provided for students uh, in able to reduce the burden of the financial situation of the students' parents. And another one thing, ranking. Okay, ranking is very, very important for a higher learning institution. For example, if colleges um, are having an external partners with other universities or external universities, that university ranking is very important, and at the same time, the recognition of that particular university or institution is also important for these students to enroll in that particular college, because whenever they have looked into these particular universities and they see this ranking and the recognition of particular external universities higher level, then students might join that particular college or um, universities. Okay, and public perception is very important. Therefore, the higher learning institution must provide a good image, a good perception towards the public. And for that, I um, I feel that social responsibility, corporate social responsibility is important for any forms of learning institution where students engage themselves in various activities of corporate social responsibility, and that will give a higher level of perception for the learning institutions. Okay. Now, let's look into, sometimes it can be a small or medium or large campus. The most important thing is quality. You can have a very large campus, but there's no quality and there's no happiness for the students. It doesn't serve the purpose. You can have a small colleges, but you're giving them everything that what the students need, and they are happy, and that makes a particular institution successful, right? And remember, specialization is very important, and therefore learning institution must have a niche market. Niche market means, for example, this particular institution is famous for this particular courses, and that particular institution is famous for another courses, and therefore this both plays an important role. Okay, and remember, we must create programs that is suited for students, the current generation. We have to uh, uh, to make sure that the syllabus are in accordance with the current uh, situation, the current employers wants, and therefore when students graduate, they can able to secure jobs at a faster rate. And as I mentioned, business related subjects, there are many, and students have various fields, and we have to look into all the specialization one by one and make sure that every specialization have an expertise on that field and able to guide those students and take them to the next level. So, as I mentioned, we have also technical fields, maths and science related subjects, and various kinds of engineerings that is suited for students' needs. So in SIGI, we have three important partnership, which is the University of Sunderland and University of Greenwich, as well as Troy universities. These three universities are considered as one of the three of the highest ranking of universities in the world, and able to give a lot of exposures for students in terms of UK education as well as US education. So, when we talk of proven academic achievement, we're talking about the CGPA levels, how many students are scoring first class honors, and that is more important. If in one particular graduation ceremony, many students are scoring first class honor, that itself is a proven academic achievement and to show there is a quality. And another more important is campus safety. All right, that is more important to ensure that students' safety need to be taken care of. And then when we talk about accreditation in terms of national, local, as well as regional, overseas, whereby student can use this certificate even though when they go overseas, it is still recognized. Right. So therefore, not only recognized in terms of academic, but also in terms of institution, the specific schools, or certain programs. For example, like certain programs recognized by, for example, ACCA or CPA. So these are some of the things that the higher learning institution need to look into. And most important is whether employers or other institutions recognize this particular higher education, meaning the students graduate from this particular institution, have a higher level of standard and able to perform well and get recognition from the employers, or even they want to go to the next step into a high level education, also being recognized. So there are various categories of jobs that students need to look for, and these particular jobs need a lot of recognition. So every particular uh, schools need to make sure that their department is in excellent department and produce a good quality level of students, and able to engage this knowledge with their employers. Okay. And then geographic location is another factor which is important, where we have facilities. Okay. Geography location, we are talking about where the transportation system is important, where when we have a good transportation system crossing that particular learning institution, that gives them what do you call that, an edge compared to other institution. Other facilities such as libraries, which is very important. Now we have physical library, and now most of the students are moving towards e-library, and e-library is very important for every learning institution. Besides that, computers, labs, okay, health centers, okay, and athletic facilities for students to get fit, okay, and able to release their stress, okay, after hard day. And then another more important is student hostel for outside students, okay, who are not living within the vicinity, and they need a good environment, okay, of hostels for them to stay. And most important, culture. Okay, we need to make sure that the various students, not only local but also international students, to make sure that these students understand the culture of other nationalities, and make sure that they live in a harmony, they can study in harmony, and they can progress the same time. Okay, and finally, the most important thing, nowadays generation students need entertainment. It's not all about study, get bored, and they also need some entertainment. And therefore, the institution need to provide a lot of functions, a lot of activities, so that students are entertained, not only bored with the studies. Okay, some of the factors I've already mentioned earlier, the classroom technology for the students to do some research and development in terms of science and engineering or the studies. And sometimes small and cozy school can be still located in a big bustling city. For example, even in a busy city, a small colleges can do very well if they have all these criteria in place and able to engage with the students. And most important thing, a responsibility of academic advisor to make sure they meet the students regularly, to see the progresses of the students and make sure they are on the track, they are not off the track, and if they are off the track, bring back to them on the track, and able to make sure that they can graduate on time. And therefore, we need an energized and inspired group of academicians. Therefore, academicians need to progress themselves, need to upgrade themselves, need to update themselves with a lot of knowledges, and able to guide the students, able to provide information, exact information for students if there is any Q&A sessions. Okay, and besides that, there are also few things that more important is the location, which I've mentioned, and affordability, the cost. Okay, the fee structure need to be reasonable for the students. Okay, for especially for Malaysian students, and then internship opportunities. Okay, to the higher learning institutions must provide internship facilities for students so that students can expose themselves and get a lot of exposure in a real life environment with any organization, and the same time they learn hands on, right? And again, another one thing is the project, the dissertation, for them to do some analysis on any issues or any kind of problems which they use that, and then that problem to solve to certain level of analysis, and then that will give the both the internship and dissertation provide students a wide range of knowledge of in theoretical aspect as well as practical aspect. And most important thing, these students must be ready for interviews, because when they go out there, they must be successful in interviews, and therefore human resource management courses must incorporate this interview session, a real life session in the campus, and make sure that students are ready for any kinds of interviews. Okay. Then most important thing, as I mentioned, participation activities, extra curriculum is important because students need to have extra curriculum. So we need to organize a lot of clubs. Okay, institution need to organize a lot of clubs for students to participate in various clubs. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the support students academically and non-academically is very important for them to be a second home. Okay, and then distance from home, living accommodation. If the students are far from home, then the accommodation must be good condition. And if the students are staying somewhere, then the transportation is also vital for the students. Okay, these are the survey I personally conducted on 300 students. Okay, these are the sum of the response from the students, which I gathered from a survey which I did past 1 month ago. So what they're trying to say is this particular survey is not only for local students but also international students have also participated in this survey. Most important thing, they are looking into academic quality. Okay. Number two is, as I mentioned, all this I mentioned earlier, recognition of the institution, fee structure cost, the budget is very important, recognition of the certificate. Okay, when they take the certificate, it must be recognized not only locally but also international level. Right, scholarship and loans provided, and then availability of the courses. For example, students prefer these courses, and these courses must be available in the learning institution. Reputation, most important, reputation of learning institutions is very important. All right, and then courses offered according to market trends. Okay, for example, some of the courses that are offered in learning institution is out of trend because that doesn't suit the current working environment, and therefore the higher learning institution must ensure that courses offers are on the par with the market and also the demand of the employers, and make sure the career opportunities. One important aspect is the higher learning institution also must provide certain level of career opportunities, get associated with various level of organization, so students can able to proceed with their career to that particular organizations. Okay, facilities such as computer lab, laboratory. Okay, and then as I mentioned, recognition of the certificate. Public feedback is very important because public perception is very useful for any higher learning institution to progress. So public institution can be positive or negative. even if it's negative, the learning institution must take a proactive steps in ensuring that future they are on the par with other learning institution and become a positive feedback. As I mentioned, location, shopping is important. I've also looked into the institution environment, which is the safe. Okay, and then admission requirement must be easy and friendly, no bureaucratics, no red tapes, and make sure students can have an easy path on admissions. Campus accommodation I already mentioned. Additional skills offer soft skills is very important. Okay, so learning institution must provide certain level of soft skills besides the what do you call that, their courses. Okay, additional soft skills must be implemented in their particular courses so that they have additional knowledge. Okay, and then the suitability of students. Okay, ensure that the courses are given are suitable for students, and they able to follow that particular path accordingly. And even this I mentioned, if the high level of failure rates, meaning the higher learning institution have failed the students, because students, when they are nurtured, when they are given the right path, when they are given that confidence, that is very difficult for students to fail. Okay, so that needs to be taken into consideration. And finally, education is the most powerful weapon which anyone can use to change the world, by Nelson Mandela. Thank you for listening to my webinar. Any comments? Let me look into comments. Anyone wants to share any comments? I would appreciate. I appreciate for 5 minutes. I will open the floor for any comments. There's no comment. Okay. If there is no comment, okay, I will see you in the next series of webinar with a more interesting topic and able to bring in more valuable points in terms of student perspective as well as institution perspective. Right? Thank you for listening, and good night.